Hey guys, it's Omer from MMOs.com with another quick weekly news recap of all major MMO news and announcements for the week ending July 31st, 2017. This is episode number 106 of the recap, and the first bit of news this week is from Lord of the Rings Online, and it's a small one. The game's latest expansion, which is titled Mordor, and as you probably guessed, takes players to Mordor, announced a slight delay. It was originally supposed to come out today, but it has been delayed and has to do with some pathing issues with NPCs and monsters and older content. So it's nothing major, so it probably won't be a big delay, but we'll find out more soon enough. The game originally launched back in 2007 and has been going fairly strong, a bit over 10 years now, so that's quite impressive. And while Lord of the Rings Online is free to play, the game's expansion does cost $40, but it adds over 300 new quests to the game, a new race, an allegiance system, a new raid, and much more. Though it is worth mentioning that the new race isn't available in the base version of the game, you actually have to upgrade to the $80 bundle to get the new race, which is definitely kind of lame, but oh well. Up next, as for games that are actually launching today, Secret World Legends officially made its Steam debut. It's been out for a little over a month already, and it had to be downloaded before on Funcom's website, but is now accessible on Steam. I expect that the game's Steam launch is going to do wonders for boosting its player base, as we've seen with so many games getting giant boosts just by launching on Steam. I mean, just look at Black Desert Online, for example. There's a whole group of people out there that won't download a game if it's not easily accessible on something like Steam. And unlike BDO though, players can actually convert their existing Secret World Legends accounts to work on Steam, which is definitely super convenient. We'll see how much of an effect the Steam launch has on the game's player base in next week's recap. Next up, Aura Kingdom from Area Games is launching a big update on August 1st called Patch 35, which will introduce several new things, but most importantly, we'll be adding several new dungeons specifically aimed for level 85 and higher players, as well as a new pet capture system. Despite launching back in 2014 in the West, it's still fairly active with about 560 or so users online at any given time through Steam alone, probably more if you count Area Ignite. I think it's actually a gorgeous looking game and easily one of the best anime-inspired MMORPGs out there. Both Lot Place and Twin Saga are newer titles from X Legend, but Aura Kingdom still remains fairly relevant. If you never played it, I think it's still worth trying. Up next, Neverwinter's latest expansion, Tome of Annihilation, just launched this week, which added a new hub area to the game called Port Nyanzaru, a new endgame dungeon called Tomb of the Nine Gods, and a bunch of new areas for players to explore. Also included in the update is some new quests and some story content. Neverwinter remains one of Perfect World Entertainment's most successful titles here in the West, and it's been averaging about 2,200 or so users on Steam alone. And if you never played it, I strongly recommend giving it a try. It's a solid action MMORPG with surprisingly good storytelling and production value. And I personally had a blast playing through it back when it first launched, and since then it's had a lot of expansion packs. Moving right along, Guild Wars 2 announced it was announcing a new expansion on August 1st, 2017, and you heard that correctly, it's action announcement for an announcement. It's big news though because Guild Wars 2 is actually very highly regarded here in the West. This new expansion will be the second expansion of the game after Heart of Thorns, which launched about 2 years ago. No word on what's really in the expansion just yet. We'll hear a lot more about it on the August 1st announcement date, which is actually tomorrow. I'm hoping that Heart of Thorns is at least included in the new expansion, or better yet, Heart of Thorns content becomes free to play, but I doubt it's going to happen. We'll have to wait and see. And in related news, Living World Season 3 Episode 6 launched this week as well, which is the last piece of the Heart of Thorns update, and with it wraps up the season storyline. Up next, Pearl Abyss released a video showing off the game's upcoming second awakening system, which is unlocked at level 56, and gives each class 2 additional sub-skills in addition to their main awakening skill. The players need to choose one of those 2 sub-skills, which combine with the main awakening skill. It's not exactly a huge update and won't change the game too much, but it's still a nice update. Unfortunately, there's no word on when the Korean release is going to happen yet, so the Western release probably won't happen anytime soon. But given how popular the Western version of the game is, I suspect from the Korean release to Western release probably won't be that long. Next up, we have a big update for DC Universe Online from Daybreak Games. Update 73 is live and is called the Stats Revamp Update, and as you probably guessed, it revamped stats in the game. Basically, every number in the game from balance to combat to progression is getting re-examined and tweaked. Daybreak says that the goal of the update is to make sure stats and skills that determine your effectiveness in-game, not your combat rating. In addition, open episodes are being re-implemented to DC Universe Online, so players can experience the first 27 episodes for free, regardless of membership or purchase status. Unfortunately, these are only available for free until August 30th. The game gets about 500 or so players online, 560 or so players online on average on Steam, which isn't bad and is significantly more than the only other superhero MMORPG out there, which is Champions Online at a bit under 200, but again, this is just on Steam. I do think DC Universe does pretty well on consoles, but unfortunately there is no public stats for that. Moving along, big news from NCSoft regarding Blade & Soul. Servers will be getting merged on August 9th, but oddly NCSoft preferred to use consolidation instead of merge when describing the event, as I guess merge is viewed negatively. North America will have 2 realms and Europe will have 3. In addition, NCSoft talked a bit about upcoming updates for the game, namely the upcoming Dark Origins update, which is set to launch sometime in August and continue the game's storyline and feature 2 high-level raids, a new dungeon, new cosmetics, and tons of other goodies. A new class was also hinted at, but that hasn't been confirmed just yet. The previous Golden Lotus Esports prize pool event looks like it ended too, and they raised about $320,000 to go towards the game's prize pool. And it was basically all crowdfunded by players buying certain items. Pretty cool. Next up, Warframe expansion Change of Hero, which launched last month officially on PC, launched this week on PS4 and Xbox One. Console MMOs have typically played second fiddle to their PC counterparts when it comes to update schedules, but it looks like the gap between PC and console releases is definitely narrowing. Games like Neverwinter and Skyforge, for example, have been extremely successful on console, and I'm pretty sure Warframe is doing really well on console as well. Plus, if you look at Elder Scrolls Online, that game has significantly more console players than on PC, so developers are definitely pushing to get updates out as soon as possible on consoles. Though I'm sure more people are excited for Warframe's next expansion, which will be adding persistent areas to the game, though I don't think there's any word on when Plains of Eidolon is set to launch. It's going to be sometime later this year, but there's no word on exactly when just yet. Moving right along, some pretty big negative news for Star Citizen 3.0. Literally the week after we covered Star Citizen. I don't normally cover Star Citizen news, but we did this time because 3.0 was set to launch sometime in August, but now it looks like that has officially been delayed. We'll have to wait and see when it actually ends up coming out. There's a pretty big blowback right now on our Star Citizen forums about people getting upset over the delay, but we'll have to wait and see what actually pans out from this. Up next, I want to talk a little bit about Albion Online. The game has no news over the last week, but it's off to an incredibly strong start. It officially launched on July 17, 2017, and is quickly off to becoming one of the most successful Western MMORPG launches in 2017. The game's newbie areas are still packed. I played about 35-36 hours or so just in launch week alone. I've been having a lot of fun with it personally. I do suspect they're going to add a free trial to the game eventually though, because it's a game that won't appeal to everybody, but by having a free trial they can maybe get a lot more people on board. But the game is so far doing quite well. Anyway, the next and last bit of news this week comes from ArcheAge Korea, which launched an update this last week which added naval arena combat to the game. 4 teams of 5 basically battle it out on ships, with each round taking about 12 minutes in naval warfare. No word on exactly when the English release for this update is going to happen just yet, but I expect Tryon to make an announcement about it soon in the coming months. ArcheAge seems to be one of those games that a lot of people still hate, but it's still doing fairly well. It gets over 800 players on Steam alone, with many more players on the Glyph launcher. And you can see some of the naval action in the video in the background. Anyway guys, that's it for MMO News this week. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the podcast. Later guys.